People at this conference asked me, what is the guy from Russia doing at the peace conference? And I was reminded of all kinds of decades-long or centuries-long conflicts that Russia was involved in. So I guess there will be no global peace without Russia, that's why. So actually, I am running a leadership center in Russia, and it's true that we won the third prize. We gave in to Gazprom, which is the largest gas and oil manufacturer in Russia, and Europe knows well what Gazprom is. And the first one was United Russia Party, which is the president's party, so you can understand. But in fact, although I do have a business, I consider myself to be a volunteer. And when I was a student, that's when we started to be volunteers. And until today, I continue this volunteer work. So I have the business, but I have a lot of non-profit organizations and activities too. So I believe that sustainable volunteerism is actually a school of true leadership. Our leadership, I think, is the main topic that we discuss here, because we are expected to become leaders who are going to change the world. So what do I mean by saying true leadership? Well, in business or in politics, you can be a leader because you have a position, right? Because you can cut the salary, you can fire people, and people out of respect or maybe fear kind of respect you. But honestly speaking, they must be afraid of you. But you may feel like you're a great leader and doing a great job. But as long as they have an opportunity to revenge, have a better job opportunity, so you will find out what kind of leader you are in reality. So, but in volunteerism, you are not paying anything, right? And there are 4 reasons, so please remember these 4 points why people will be with you in non-profit work. First, you stand for something people really believe in. Your mission, your cause, your dream, your vision is something that people want to be part of. So this is number 1. So in volunteerism, it's not self-promotion, right? So you have to advocate a noble cause that inspires people. The second, people look at you and so they want to find out whether you are a person who can be trusted, right? If your words and your deeds are not aligned with what you believe, people are not going to trust you. And they will not want to be involved in your work. Number 3, people like to be in the group that you are leading. So they like to be a part of exciting team. Let's say you have a lot of creative ideas, you have a lot of team synergy, and as a team, people actually like it to be with you as a leader. And number 4 is actually outcomes, results, mind-blowing outcomes. Because if the work is boring or primitive or ordinary, well, young people, especially Generation Y, will say, so what, right? There are much more exciting things to do in life. So these 4 things, your cause or your mission, your vision. Second, you as a person, your character. Third, your team. And the 4th, the outcomes that actually show what kind of dream you really have. And actually leadership is a relational concept. So actually we don't call ourselves leaders, right? Because relational concept, like a father is someone who has who? Children, right? Children are small human beings who at some point of their life have parents. Husband is someone who has a wife, and the wife is someone who has a husband. So who is a leader? Sometimes young people say that they are leaders because they're active, they're stubborn, they're bright, or maybe they're arrogant, or they don't know how to stay in a group. There are a lot of infighting and conflicts, and some say, oh, they're all leaders there, so there's no agreement among them. So they are not leaders, they are just being young. So, and in this sense, without people on board, without people on your team, you're not actually a leader yet. So that's why I wanted to focus in this presentation how volunteerism actually is all about inspiring greatness in people. How do you bring about the best in people and how you build up your team? Because actually without the team, a leader, as we have a joke in Russia, is always pregnant with great ideas, but they never materialize. They never actually come into reality. And that's why, in other words, the power of the leader comes from his team. No matter how brilliant he is, no matter how talented he is, if he is alone, what can he do? He can tweet a lot. And he gets a lot of likes, right? That's great, but when it comes to moving a nation or the world, you do have to have a team with you. So in Christianity, there is a concept that Christians are the body of Christ, right? What does it mean? That actually they're like the hands and the legs and the feet and the mouth and the eyes of Christ. So you could say that the team is the body of a leader. So without the team, the leader is just a talking head, right? So the strength of the leader comes from the skills and talents that are in his team. And actually, I wanted to say that leadership is not just a social construction. It's not something just we agree upon. It's something based on natural law or universal law. For example, when you have, well, I'm from Russia, right? An example from wild nature. And a pack of wolves, you have this leader guy, right? Alpha. And why is he there? To boss other wolves around? To show how great a wolf he is? Or why is he there in this, position? The strongest, the biggest wolf. Somehow from birth, he was different. And he was promoted by the force of life to do what? To lead, to protect the pack, to provide the survival, security, and the food and multiplication of the whole pack of wolves, right? So you can say that the nature gives the power to those who benefit the group, not just themselves. So in this sense, I want to say that actual leaders are somehow, they feel that they are different. They feel different than the other people. So let me ask you a question. Has anyone felt in life that I am born to make a difference in this world? Did you feel that I have the power to really make this world better? It's just that I have to find the right people, right opportunities, the right resources, but actually I have that kind of anointment that I'm special to make this world special. Yes or no? Yes. But some people never feel like this. You felt like this, that's why you're here, but some people never feel like this in their life. Why? Because if you feel like this, you feel a calling. You are called to live for the sake of others, to use all the talents, all the experience, and all the resources to benefit the social context that we're part of, our nations or even the world. And so actually it all starts when you really take off your ego and think of others. And this is what volunteerism is all about. But, as I said, it can be a school of true leadership and it can be not. And it depends on which of the 4 major roads you will take towards volunteerism. I'll try to be brief about this, but this is very important, friends. So, as Michael said, if you don't have resources, what actually can you give to the others, right? So the biggest wolf actually eats the most, right? He gets the biggest part of the caught animal, right? Why? Is he because he's greedy? Because he has to be the strongest and the fastest. That's why he has to get this resource for himself. So you can say that there can be 4 major strategies in any NGO and basically in life. And this will be the axis of receiving resources or gaining resources, or simply speaking, taking. And this will be the axis of giving. So, you know, some people want to receive resources, but they don't want to give out, right? So what do you call this kind of people? Selfish? Well, there's a stronger word starting with the letter P. Well, this is not in the sense to accuse anyone, it's just like a species, you know? That in nature, somebody just lives off somebody else's blood, you know? Let's say, we will do this project if we have the funding. If not, sorry. If my NGO is no longer being supported by the government, sorry. And you know, there was a survey that showed that a lot of NGOs are there doing things only because they have the funding. And the real question is just if your major sponsor stops funding you for any reason, would you stop or would you take action and solve this problem? Well, it's great that I think we don't have this group of people here. There's another category of NGOs and of volunteers. I call them heroes. Heroes. Those who are giving, those who are sacrificing, those who go to the extreme, but they themselves look like they need to be helped. They don't have resources, and actually they are not trying to have them. They say, we're totally selfless people. We don't need anything. We don't need money. We don't need offices. We're just totally dedicating ourselves for the sake of the world. And then eventually they just stand with an empty hand. And leaders actually are the helping hand that God is lending to the world. And this hand should not be empty. Leaders should be giving something, and if they don't know how to draw resources, how to gain those things that Michael was talking about, so these heroes go and what? Go and die. That means volunteers drop out of the project. That means that they himself lost inspiration. That means that NGO is no longer being funded by whoever was funding it, and that's it. Well, there are other people here. Well, they don't give too much, and because they don't have resources, that's why their projects always stay as small scale, no impact, just a handful of people with the big names on their name cards. Did you ever meet such volunteers? Well, it can be explained that, well, we don't have the resources, that's where our impact is not that great. But anyway, in terms of the real impact to the world, you could say that these people are outsiders. They're kind of outside of the real world. And so what is this conference all about? Creating the leaders and creating organizations that are impacting the world in a true sense. And this is where we are. Leaders. So leaders should know how to gain resources, how to get the funding, but the basic attitude is that we are here to benefit our nations and the world. So this is about the intent, as Michael was saying, your motivation, your attitude. So as people see you, are you there for funding, for grants, or are you there for genuine service to humanity. What value you are creating. Also, Michael was saying that about skills and talents. We want to save the world, but we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to talk, how to get the fun. We don't know how to make the right letters, because it takes actually skill to write a good letter, right? That the Prime Minister should respond to. If there were a lot of grammar mistakes, then, well, everything has to be done professionally. Everything has to be done in a very talented excellence way. So excellence is the word that should be used a lot by people who are here, because, well, we are not only serving humanity, we're also serving God, right? That's why we cannot do things in a lousy way. It has to be done in an excellent way. So when people see us as leaders, how do they find out which is our true intent? How do they figure out what kind of people we are? Do you have any ideas? Well, we understand that the relationship between the leader and team is all about trust, whether they trust you. But how? One person told me, we had a discussion, that they need to take the risk. Well, do you agree? Who believes that trust is all about taking the risk? Okay, who believes that trust is about being sure that the other person is not a crook?
Calculated risk.
Well, let's say, actually trust, there are again, components of trust. So you can trust someone if you know their intent, if you know and understand their character, if you are sure of their level of competency, and there is some track record. Track record. For example, when Michael talks about track record, you trust him, right? After he introduced himself, you feel like he's the person to listen to, because a track record means a lot. Well, let's say you're in an airplane and the pilot says, I'm Captain so-and-so, I'm happy to welcome you on board our airplane. I'm the first time. This is my first flight. Do you feel, okay, I'm going to take the risk. By the way, I'm alone today because I hate my teammates and I'm a solo flyer. So would you feel safe? So team is important for a leader to be trusted. And then the character. People have to be sure that actually your character is not some kind of strange character, right? That you're a good person, that you're honest. That's what we call integrity. But actually the simplest thing to actually start contacting people, well, Facebook and Twitter is the way to go, but besides that, well, imagine if Martin Luther King kept silence. What if Gandhi kept silence? What is the simplest way? Talk. Learn to speak well. Learn to present well. And actually, a lot of volunteers think that just running around making a lot of noise is enough. But to present well, to actually get the message across, is the way how you get your motivation, your attitude out there to the people. And then the second character, people can find out about your character if you are with the people. If there is a distance, if your volunteers are here and you live in some ivory tower, you know, and you're so detached from reality, how people will understand what kind of personality you are. And competency. So this is the first question that we need to address to ourselves. So what kind of skills do I have as a leader? What kind of skills do I need to bring to my team? Michael talked a lot about that, so I won't focus too much on that, but this is very, very important. So, as volunteers, actually, we are not only serving, but we are also learning. And we are learning to be the leaders. And I just mentioned actually here, in the beginning, the 4 major kind of things, how people figure out what kind of leader you are. Does anybody remember? The first, I said that people will find out what kind of leader you are, right? First is your vision. And this is, as a leader, we need to communicate our vision to the people. We need to be clear about it. And actually, for example, if your real motivation is to, well, not to give to the world, but actually, as I was saying, that parasite circle, remember? If you start speaking, do you think people will feel that you are not sincere or not? People will feel right away. That's why, first thing, that you not only need to speak your message, but you need to, as we say, walk the talk. You need to live what you preach. This is the second challenge. So the first thing is you actually strengthen your motivation of living for the sake of others, by being active, by speaking publicly about your organization, about your agenda, about your vision. And the second, actually, you need to really embody the values that you preach. And this principle, actually, we can call principle of responsibility. I had a talk with one of the guys on my team recently, and he said that he wants to try something else in life. He wants to drop out. I said, so what do you think if I decide the same? If I want to try something else? He said, no, you cannot. I said, why? Because you're a leader. He said, you are a leader, so leaders have no choice. In a sense, they belong to the people that they lead. They belong to the organizations that they create, and they belong to the world. So they really own the organization that they create, but in fact, they're owned by that organization. And this is actually a very serious question, because we can go through rough times in our lives. Sometimes we have the funding, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we are followed by the people, sometimes we're not. But is our conviction strong enough to stay where we are, to keep doing what we're doing? So this actually principle is so important, and actually this is where most organizations are the weakest. And third, as I said, is your strength equals the strength of your team. So that means that when you look for the team, and actually now I'm talking not about just volunteers who come for some time. I'm really talking about building your inner circle of close allies, or you could say your disciples, your followers, people who really stand by you no matter what. And you can find out what kind of leader you are. For example, when you're doing good in business, you're making a lot of money, and you have people with you. But what if you lose the money? What if somehow you go broke? Will you still have these people with you or not? This shows the level of commitment of the team to you. So this is the question. Sometimes we are too far from our own selves. For example, as leaders, we think about networking, right? About strategic partners. We think about building alliances. We're thinking how to work with the government. But as leaders, we need to think how to work with our team, how to inspire our team, and how to bring out the best in my team, and how can I raise them to be really the leaders. So I want to ask you a question. So what do you think is number one objective for any leader? What is his concern about most of all? Well, I can give you a hint. Let's say he's worried about money. He's worried about how to getting more funding, or he's worried about how to get a better track record as an NGO, or he's worried how to get more partners. What is his real concern? Performance of the team is good, but there's something more crucial, where the sustainability actually is cut. If there is no successor, there is the end of it. The number of leaders that he can raise. And if this work is done by him, then his work is sustainable. If not, nothing will remain. Nothing will be sustainable. So, number one priority for a leader, to raise leaders in his team and become a leader of leaders. So basically, this is the key point and the key principle of leadership. Develop as many leaders as you can, and this will increase the impact of your organization. Well, I think this is the main thing, the main message that I wanted to share with you today. And this is how actually I was following these kind of principles, and as Michael said, that mentors are important. So I've learned that from my mentor, actually Mr. Tosaka, the president of GPYC, and these are the principles that are being taught and practiced in GPYC. So for all young people, I encourage you to join this educational track that GPYC is offering, because this is the best way to develop yourself as a leader and become someone who can raise other young people to become true leaders through sustainable volunteerism. Thank you very much.